And now, the guy that has the hardest task of all, because he's between you and lunch, is Karel. He's going to be presenting on Orange Libon. If you've read my weblog, you know I'm a big fan of the approach they've taken. It's very web-centric, and they've been able to achieve something that actually the big mothership has been able to commercialize, and now has become one of the core strategies within Orange. So again, great success to you and your team, Karel. So over to you.
Thank you. So, yes, I'm Karel Bourgois. I am the product owner of Libon, or in all telco lingo, I'm the director of product management for the over-the-top communication services of the Orange group. But product owner will be simpler. So, you probably all know Orange. It's a telco operator. It makes over 40 billion of revenue every year. We have over 200 million customers worldwide, and when I say 200 million customers, I mean in the old telco sense. So we are talking about paying people. And if you look at who we are competing to now, we have WhatsApp, by example, which is an OTT. They are doing they were doing, when they got acquired, over 60 billion messages a day. And they sold for almost $20 billion. And how did they do that? With only 55 people. Orange, we are 160,000, I think, people worldwide. Very simple, lean organization. And how did WhatsApp get there? I think one thing we heard from a lot of the presenters, but that I want to pinpoint, is the cost model. One thing that WhatsApp was able to do is kind of, you go and sell a car for 20 euros suddenly. What does that make to the market? What does that mean for us in terms of distribution of the value? And we heard about the telco point of view, the supplier point of view. But if you look back in time, that's how much light will cost in terms of hours of work you have to do to get light. It went from over 7 hours, I think, to you don't really think about how much light is costing to you. And what did it mean for the market? It means that we went from, people having a scarce resources, which was a candle, which was voice for us, or messaging, to having something that's ubiquitous, and so many new usage that came out. And that's what the disruption we are facing right now in our business, all of us. So the big question for Orange was how do we handle that disruption? How do we do? We could just do nothing and hope this is not going to last. And we still have some people around who think this is not going to last. They don't have business model. It doesn't make sense. It's just a passing trend anyway. With the net neutrality that's going to go down, we'll be able to reassess the way we put services, and we'll prioritize our services, or telco services, and all those services are going to disappear anyway. There is no business model. At Orange, we don't believe this is going to work. So we need to take the driver's seat. We need to control that innovation and embrace it. And so the way we can do that, there is a couple of ways. Partner. So as we heard a lot, we need to work with a lot of partners, OTTs, suppliers, other operators who used to be purely competitors. But as Karel said earlier, other operators now are also cooperative partners for us. And it's also mean that we need to replicate and learn from what's going on in the market. So how do we do that at Orange? Well, we created Libon over 3 years ago now. And what we're doing with Libon is we're providing a messaging and voice application in the best of class services. What we mean there is that we need to confront ourselves to the standard in terms of quality of services. And that's the consumer, the customer, who can tell that. It's no longer some internal process we're going to decide, this is the best or not the best app. We really need to do that in a way that's overwhelming and that's global. So I think that's why, one of the points from Huawei, we need to be global, you need to be very simple, you need to provide all of the features. But we are still a telco, and so one of the things we are trying to do is we want to keep integrating within Libon all the standardized pieces that we have created over the years. One of that being compatibility with RCS, compatibility with MSSDN and PSTN. So when you make a call, it's not only Libon to Libon, it's also being able to reach someone on a classical network. And one of the things also is that innovation, it's not only about new services, it's about very traditional services. And we heard earlier about Fring, how they were surprised with the voicemail being a service that people are still interested. Well, they discussed the visual voicemail, but with Libon, we went one step further, and the personalized greetings that we have in Libon, I think, is pretty good way of innovating over a very standardized service. And we see from our user base that they love that service, and they use it quite a lot when it's available. Also, as I said, it must be ubiquitous, so not only global, but it must be multi-device. So we have to be thinking always through the web, where we are a mobile-first experience, but we need to have everything also available on tablets, on PCs, on TV eventually. Again, we are not a traditional OTT, we are a telco OTT. So that means that every time we do something, we have to think about what it means from an Orange perspective. How do we bring value for Orange customers? So Libon is available everywhere worldwide. So any of you can download it if you don't have it yet on your Android or iPhone. But if you're an Orange customer, we are creating something special. What does that mean? That means that we are trying to create, bottom line effect for Orange. So increase the revenue, get new customers, paying customers, and eventually, keep our existing customer longer. So, we are an OTT, but our raison d'être in French is for each OpCo to be able to create value. And that's come back to what we just seen, which is the idea of, we have a global platform, and the question is that going to be your platform, Axiata? It doesn't really matter. The thing is, we have all to work together to find one, and we'll adopt it together. It will, there will be some competition, but at the end of the day, what we need is we need to have a global platform, and then each telco, each OpCo, is locally going to deploy that. And so, the application is free. Everybody can download it. There is some premium plans that we sell over the top. Through the app stores as the distribution model, but you can build those at the OpCo on your bill. And we create an over-the-top voice plan, but then we can customize those voice plans. And so typically that's one thing we did, by example, in France with Soch. And so we have this over-the-top 179 euro VoIP package where you get 50 minutes for 100 countries, fixed and mobile. But that same package can either cost less or be free, depending on which type of offer you have with Orange in France. And that's something we've been deploying now with many OpCos. So we started with France, but now you have Poland, Romania, Slovakia, Spain, Moldavia, and each of them are doing it a little different. So I won't get into the detail because I've been told I tried to do it in 15 minutes, this presentation, which was already hard to do in 20. But the idea is, each country can decide, they want to focus on the VoIP part, they want to focus on the messaging part. How do you gain this best of Orange? How do we create value for the OpCo? But at the same time, we always keep at the top, at the OTT level, something that's common for everybody, that is valuable even if you're not an Orange customer, because we are in a global world and we are competing against people that don't think only, per operator, per region. So I'm going to take a quick run through what we've done with Soch in France. And what was very interesting is we managed to increase the usage of our customer. We also managed to increase the revenue per selling those options. And what happened is that a lot of those customers were already using some of the OTT services, which means that they were not using anymore telecom services to do international call, by example. So we actually increase also suddenly the inbound international call, because people call back. And if the service we're providing is using the identity, which is the MSSDN, when they call back, they use the traditional telecom services. So we are creating, value also to old-fashioned, I would say, telco services. In terms of GET, what we've seen is that a lot of the new users that are using Libon, a lot of the users that are using Libon with SOSH were actually very new to SOSH, around 25%. So I won't say it's because of Libon that all of those came to SOSH, but you can see that there must be some form of a GET effect also there. And then in terms of KEEP, what we could see is that indeed some of the OTT competitors' traffic went down quite significantly for those users. Viber in particular, it was maybe less striking for Skype, but because of the desktop environment, they have some stronghold there. But it was also going down. And so what we see there is that there is a way, by doing a telco OTT, you can bring back traffic and usage. And this is very relevant because what we've heard earlier today is that one of the things we will try to do is also creating new services. But to create those new services, you need to distribute them. And so that means you need to keep the contact with your customer. And by losing those traditional services, we are also kind of losing the contact, the way we can distribute and convince our customer that we have valuable services for them to use. So what the current results we've achieved with that? So over the years now, we have had over 10 million downloads. That means that currently we have more than 2 million monthly active users, which is why the presentation was saying maybe we are one of the most successful telco OTT with that kind of usage. Also something that's very interesting, and unfortunately I cannot share the exact numbers, but by starting selling those over-the-top packs, bundles, we expected a certain level of transformation, which looked like something standard within the OTT world, and we achieved actually higher performances than we expected, so we are quite happy with that. But all of that cannot happen if you don't behave like an OTT in terms of application development. So, we were talking earlier about agile, lean. When I say my role is a product owner, that's something we had to totally adapt. That means also we have a single roadmap. It's not going to work if you allow every single of your OpCo, if you're a big telco like Orange, to say, well, I want it this way, I want it that way, and you have 20 different applications on the market, one for each of your subsidiaries. So we started with voicemail. Oops, something, okay. So a little glitch. So there is beautiful icons over there, but it doesn't matter. We started with voicemail, we moved to calling last year. Now this year we focus on messaging. One cool thing we've created this year was the ability to send a message to somebody who was not using the Libon application. It's quite innovative. It's not yet reached the impact we expected on we could expect on the usage. But I think that will come next year when we'll extend that feature to group chat. Because imagine now you want to chat with different people, and some of your friends, they are on Facebook, some they are on WhatsApp, some they are on LinkedIn, some they are here and there, but you want to chat with more than one person at the time. By extending the open chat features to group chat, that means that you can invite anybody, and you don't care if they are on Libon, if they are on any other application. They will all join you in your group chat, and you'll be able to talk with everybody. And WebRTC for us is also a big innovation that we'll push on 2015. Currently, we are using mostly SIP-based technology for our VoIP, but we will want to extend that thanks to WebRTC. So a unique roadmap for everybody, but focusing in terms of process at the user perspective. So what we are looking on a daily basis is user review. And every time there is a review, we learn from that. Are we doing something bad? Are we doing something good? You can see the curve here, and it's probably you know, when it goes down, in review, we learn about something that we did wrong, so we try to rectify it. So the second thing that's very important is iteration. And iteration, as a lot of people said earlier, it means that you need to have a fast time to market. And you know, we are aiming for 3 weeks rollout time, so being able to deploy every 3 weeks a new version. I have to confess it's more like 6 weeks on average because we don't manage yet the 3 weeks rollout. But you know, even if 6 weeks compared to what I used to do previously, you know, which was more like what 80 months every time we want to roll out something. And as many people say, it means that you get the go to roll out. So you have to go through an RFP, you have to get all the business approval, and by the time you go to market, probably everything you start thinking 18 months ago is no longer relevant. So iteration is very important, and that's the only way you can learn and you can move. And I'm talking here about what we do with Libon, which is communication-centric. But one thing that I will take from Dean earlier post in October, comparing the telco with the auto industry, which I still don't get totally why, but what I do agree with him is that one thing we need to do, and I think it's what we all agreed on over the last few presentations, is we need to roll more of those. So, you know, one thing I'm trying to do in my team is we're becoming a bit big in the Libon team, and I'm trying to set that up again a small team that can roll out very fast different features. And we need to have, you know, maybe not hundreds, at least for my team, but maybe for the overall Orange ecosystem, it could be hundreds. We need to have a lot of apps, and we need to iterate, we need to try, we need to learn, we need to partner. So, you know, if I want to conclude exactly about that, is what's the point of my intervention? What did I want to say? Is that, well, you need to build apps. And you know, we are now in an app economy. And it's not only by providing services, it's also about providing application. People are used to download, try, throw to the garbage if they don't like, keep it if they like, recommend. And that's something we all need to learn. And if you don't want to do that, or don't have the means to do that, well, then you need to partner. You could partner with us, so we'll be very happy if you want to join the Libon Alliance, and we are trying to see how we can work with telcos, but also, you know, eventually providers who have their own ecosystem, and make our ecosystem work together, so we can be more global, and we can each work then at the local level to go to market. And you know, if you don't partner with us, partner with somebody else. But yeah, we need to try. We need to bring service to market, and we need to think in a global way, in a web-centric way, so agile, lean, everything that a lot of my predecessors say, and I hope to make Libon a great success with some of you guys. So that's it.
Excellent, thank you so much, Karel. You want to ask, so here you go.
Sure. A great presentation, by the way. It's going to actually fuel a lot of the internal debates that we're having right now, because you know I have the view that OTT communication is critical for a telco's future, but that I don't want to build it. Because there are all these guys out there who already have established a very large consumer base anyway. So with the exception of enterprise, I see no reason to kind of build them, right? And oh, by the way, this is a view that not necessarily everyone within Axiata agrees with me. I say, go partner with WeChat, go partner with Line, KakaTalk, right? So I mean, it's interesting that you guys decided to build that. What's the rationale behind that?
So I'm a newcomer from Orange perspective. I've been with Orange for less than 5 years. Which in Orange world is like I'm a baby Orange person. And so when I came, I was part of the innovation strategy group and looking at what to do with over the top. So one of the first things I tried to do is partner. So we worked on a couple of partnerships. I don't think, no, the potential partner we worked the farthest away with is not in the room today, but they have been since then very, very successful OTT, which wasn't the case when we started working together. But what happened at the end of the day is it was very hard to come up with a business model that worked for both parties, because you know, even if we are in in a phase where we all know that in the long term, or I should say maybe in the medium term, or even in the short term for some countries, messaging and voice is being commoditized. It's still a core main revenue. You know, you can't immediately move towards a new paradigm of where the business model it's a commodity, it's free. And that's the way already those OTT are working. And so going from where we are to there, it's just not something we found a common ground. So that's why we decided to build our own and to work with something hybrid, where we can still keep the business models that are the most relevant for each of our opcos. And in some countries, messaging is already, it's past. No more business there. So there isn't much of a question. I mean, I don't think there is any of our opcos right now where voice is commoditized. So hopefully we keep making some business model there. So that's why we end up building our own.
I'll just pass it over to Dean. And that'll be our last question before lunch, okay?
A couple of quick questions. Of your 2 million monthly users, roughly how many are actually OTT customers rather than Orange customers?
So most are OTT.
Cool. And the other question is, how do you know that Viber use went down 79%?
So I was talking for those specific customer of us. So I'm looking only at the traffic of SOSH users that were previously SOSH users before they started using Libon. And after they started Libon, looking at the traffic at the network level.
But presumably you can only look at the cellular, you can't look at Wi-Fi.
Sorry?
Presumably you don't know their Wi-Fi use of Viber.
Yeah, so what we do measure usually is that I think 70% of the traffic is on Wi-Fi, but the usage pattern is similar on both. So if the 30% that we do see is reducing by 70%, we expect it's also true on Wi-Fi. There is no reason from a user perspective, because people don't care actually if they're on Wi-Fi and switching. They are just using the service.
We can talk about lunch.
Yeah.
Excellent. So thank you so much for an excellent presentation.